a message for all my fellow young people. Anybody who's Gen Z, millennial, whatever. The clock is ticking. Before this world that we care about, this world that we want to live on, have kids on, have a family, reach your dreams, go to the NBA, be an astronaut, whatever the hell you want. All of those dreams, that life that you wanted, the clock is ticking for it, or it's going to be taken away from you. The issues that are affecting us right now and the decisions that we make surrounding those issues, they're going to directly affect our future and the future of this planet and the future of humanity as we know it. So young people, if you want to live on this planet for the next few decades, those are your plans. It's time for us to act, to be scared, to realize the power of this moment and act. Now, let's first outline why you should be scared, why you should be terrified. Because the issues are drastic. They are, wow. They are catastrophic, okay? One, I think probably the most important issue to talk about here is climate change. Climate change is a crisis of epic proportions. People don't talk about it as much, obviously, because of Corona and this pandemic going around and just politics and just the general hustle and bustle. Maybe just the fact that people don't want to talk about the potential end of days, right? But the fact of the matter is, if we do not aggressively act to curtail greenhouse gas emissions in the next 10 years, according to the United Nations, climate change will become irreversible. That is a fact. There is a UN report that says if we do not cut global greenhouse gas emissions by 45%, climate change will become irreversible. You're talking about coastal areas being swallowed by sea rise. You're talking about the poles melting. You're talking about super droughts, massive widespread famine, disease, war, hunger, disaster as we know it, trillions of dollars lost, billions of refugees and lives lost. You're talking about total global destruction. You're talking about large parts of the world becoming uninhabitable. You're talking about a crisis that we have never seen before. All due to our present day inaction. Let's talk about another problem. Let's talk about an education crisis. Let's talk about the fact that in 2020, there are millions, maybe probably billions of children across this world who do not have access to education, who do not, specifically for our young women. That is a crisis of epic proportions. When the scales of this system are so rigged, the only thing that can get you ahead in education, billions of people don't have access to it. Let's talk about the fact that healthcare is still a privilege and not a right across large swaths of the world, including in the richest country in the history of the world, the United States of America. Today, the coronavirus is sweeping the world, 600,000 cases globally, and yet for some reason, we have still not made healthcare a right. Many billions of people do not have access to health care, and potentially we are putting their lives at risk because they don't have access, because they can't afford it, because the system is rigged, because health care is a profit mafia middleman type of system in America and across the globe. And that is an incredible crisis that must be solved. Let's talk about the fact that the political and economic systems of the world are rigged against those at the bottom. Let's talk about the fact that in the United States of America, the richest 3 Americans own more wealth than the bottom half of the country. Let's talk about the fact that globally, the richest few dozen of billionaires own more wealth than the bottom half of the globe. That is reality in the world that we live in. And when there is such incredible wealth and it buys influence across many governments in this planet, what you are going to be seeing is that the more wealth that they get, the harder it is for people like us to get ahead, because the political systems are rigged in their favor, because the economic systems are obviously rigged in their favor, and you are stuck at the bottom and they are stuck at the top, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's not capitalism. That's not socialism. That's not any economic system that we want to talk about and love and care about and cling our hopes and dreams to. That is hell. That's hellism. Those are the crises that we face as young people. And time is running out to save the planet, to save our political systems, to save our economic systems, to save the world. That is why you should care. And no amount of scrolling through Instagram or Snapchat is going to save us from that. No amount of apathy is going to change the fact that the world is dying, that the system is rigged against people like you and me, and no matter what you do, you can't get ahead. That's what it feels like. No amount of not giving a damn and drowning out the noise is going to stop the fact that you are stuck in place and it's getting harder and harder for you to get out of it. Okay? And also the fact that the planet's dying. It's tough. Okay? The crises that we face are catastrophic, at least potentially catastrophic. But there are a variety of solutions that we can take, a variety of efforts to mobilize that we can undertake as a generation, as a movement, to unrig these systems, to tip the scales of power back in our favor, and create a society that works for all and not just a few. First things first, you gotta give a damn. You gotta give a damn. Stop using social media just to drown out the noise and use social media as a tool for change, right? Instead of posting about your spring break trip, post about the fact that in the United States today, people cannot get treatment for coronavirus because they are too broke and don't have access to health insurance. Or the fact that they might have health insurance, but they are underinsured, and their insurance companies are ripping them off to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars for a pandemic. That is the reality in the richest country in the history of the world. Imagine how other people, how other young people, how other citizens across the globe are feeling right now. That is reality. Post about that. Talk about that. Organize protests, organize demonstrations, organize and mobilize, donate, join, volunteer. There are a variety of organizations out there, and there are a variety of things you can do on your own in terms of social media, in terms of school, in terms of, in general, in the streets, in public, where you can get your voice heard. And you may not have the courage, but others do. So donate, join, volunteer, and do your part. March for Our Lives, the Sunrise Movement. There are a variety of candidates who need and are in desperate need of funding in order to take on this political system here in America and across the globe. You can mobilize and join and act. And I'll leave the link in the description for those organizations that I'm referring to. We can mobilize. We can do this. But understand something. If we do not have our voice heard as young people, if we do not mobilize in the millions, get out in the streets and protest and organize under the banner of freedom and justice and equal opportunity and saving this planet from destruction. If we do not have our voices heard in the toll of the millions, what we are going to be seeing is that it is too late to save our future. You should be terrified. You should be scared. You should be peeing your pants. But on top of that, that fear, that anger, and that confusion should be enough to get you to act. This is the moment. This is the moment. We're at a crossroads in terms of humanity and in terms of the younger generations. One path leads towards destruction. One path leads towards a world that we can't live on. One path leads towards a world where we do not have a sustainable future, we do not have jobs, where we do not have security, where we do not have freedoms. And one path leads towards a peaceful and secure world that we can live on for generations to come. But this is an existential crisis in terms of climate change, education, healthcare, income inequality, political oppression, all of those issues that I laid out. We're at a crossroads where it can swallow our humanity, where we can save our humanity right now by fighting those issues. But it's going to take, as I said, giving a damn, mobilizing, joining, volunteering, donating, getting out in the streets, getting out on social media, and using the power of our voice for action and change. But we have to act now. Now. Not 10 years down the line, not 20 years down the line, because then it will be too late. So enough is enough, man. So again, look in the description for the link that I'm going to provide to all the organizations that I've been talking about. We can do this. And pay attention. Right? On social media, try to subscribe to a few more news channels. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube. Make sure that you have your voice heard, right? But also that you're staying informed. You don't want to get the wrong information. You don't want to act rashly. You want to make sure that you are informed and that you know what's going on and that you are acting on that information, right? When you see the world in crisis, when you see injustice, when you see oppression, when you see that the clock is ticking for us to save this planet and save our society, don't just sit idly by. History is going to show who stood in the path of the oppression or who allowed the oppression and perpetrated the oppression. History will show who was on the right and who was in the wrong. Okay? So with that, man, stay safe out there. And once this storm passes, matter of fact, while this storm is happening, I'm talking about the pandemic, there are things you can do online and across social media. I'm going to leave the link in the description. Once this storm passes as well, protest, get out in the streets, go join demonstrations, have your voice heard. You don't have to be the one doing the talking, but you can definitely be one of the ones behind the person talking. You can be one of the millions who is fighting and standing up for change. So with that, man, thank you.
We riding, yeah, you know we vibing, bitch, we just living.